So welcome to another session. This session keeps a special interest in the fact that in the previous few sessions, we talked about technologies, we discussed about used water management, we discussed about fecal/treatment, and of late in the past week, we had some of you as participants who actually went through these technologies. But then one thing that lies with us, and we often tend to neglect when we are working in FSSM or in this sector, is telling people, letting people know, and in the simplest possible form, where a kind of social and behavior change communication is required. And that is what, it is a culmination of both art, because storytelling is an art. And when you talk, and what we are talking is science. So it's a culmination of art and science, and that affects the behavior change, and especially in the field of sanitation. And to do this, in today's session, we'll actually discuss on two very important concepts. One is the social behavior change communication aspects, especially in the field of sanitation. And we have two very professionals with us. One is Mr. Tej Yadav, who is a strategic communication professional with more than 1.5 decades of experience. And then we have, followed by him, we would have Ms. Sonal, who is a research consultant. Again, she is a specialized person with BCC, or social BCC, planning, implementation, and impact assessment. And then, of course, in the later part, we'll be talking about it's not only the social change, what we want to do in sanitation, but we also want to know how to tell it to people, how digital communication can actually bring in these stories, or bring out these stories out in public. People understand that, people realize them, people practice them. This is what our context is. Has Professor Chari joined in, Jyotsna? I don't see him. Just check. So I would pass on the scepter to him.
No, not yet. I think we can proceed.
He might join in later. So what I will do is, I would request Mr. Tej to please take on the task and start and begin with his communication and talk. Over to you, Mr. Tej. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rajarshi, and thank you very much, ASCII, for having us on this course to discuss about social and behavior change communication. And with me, I have my colleague Sonal, who is a research consultant. Sonal, do you just want to say hi before we begin?
Yeah, thank you very much, and a warm welcome to everyone.
Sonal, yeah. there is a confusion. You are on some different name.
Yes, that is my daughter's.
Can you change that? Can you change that?
Sure.
That makes our work ambiguous.
Oh, sure.
Don't make the identity ambiguous, please.
I'll do that.
Please.
Yeah, I've changed it for you. It's okay. You can continue.
Perfect.
Sure. Thank you.
And thank you very much for having us over. And this is a good check to my audio system. I had a near nervous breakdown, and Tej calmed me down because my headsets were not working. So thank you very much. And thank you for being such patient listeners. Over to you, Tej.
So thank you, Sonal. And we will talk about social and behavior change communication, but also understand other concepts of communication during this 1 hour session. So how, say, for example, like a lot of us have been using the word information, education, communication. How is that different from social and behavior change communication? We'll try and understand that. And we'll try and keep this interactive. So there are polls in between, there are questions for you. So, it will be good if you can interact and ask questions. We will be happy to answer. We would want to keep it as interactive as possible going forward. Jyotsna, will it be possible for you to share the slides? While Jyotsna projects it, I will just talk about.
Are you able to see this
Yes,
presentation?
I can see it now. So I'll just give, can we go to the next slide, Jyotna? I'll give a little bit context about BBC Media Action and how we are different from BBC. BBC Media Action is an NGO arm of the BBC, which I think most of you will know is the global news brand. As a development organization of BBC, we believe in the power of media and communications for good. I mean, for using media and communications for social impact, and we use that to provide trusted information, stories, and ideas, and also trigger debates around a lot of issues. I mean, whether that's health, that's sanitation, governance. We also work on resilience, disaster risk reduction in certain countries. So it goes on. It depends on the needs of that particular community. So, say for example, in countries like Sierra Leone, we work on humanitarian response as well, because there is a population which is in conflict. Importantly, how we are separate from BBC is that we are not funded by the BBC or the license money which is collected by the BBC. So we raise our own funds. We work with foundations like Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation or H&M Foundation. We work with bilateral organizations like USAID to raise our funds and do our work. And with support from Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, we have delivered a couple of projects on rural and urban sanitation. And we'll be talking about some of those case studies in the presentation today. And as part of that, we have also, worked with Government of India. We have worked with RC very closely in delivering some of those projects, and we will be taking you through those case studies during this 1 hour. What is very important and integral to our work are our audiences. And we always say that audiences are at the heart of everything that we do. So every communication that we design, it is designed for a particular audience to cater to their needs. It takes all the context into consideration while we design communication. So whether it's their beliefs, what are the social norms around them. So all of that we take into consideration when we design a communication, and we will talk about all that in subsequent slides. So before we move forward, can I share my screen, Jyotna? There are a couple of questions that I just want to put up. So I'm sharing a link in the chat box here. If you can open it, there will be some questions that will appear. And these questions are very simple. Primarily to understand how you have been doing communication so far. Is my screen visible to all of you?
Not yet, Tej. You have to share it again.
I'll just share it. Yeah. So the first question is again, as I said, this is to understand how you've been doing communication so far. Do you really study the audience before developing communication? And if some of you can, I see some of you have already voted saying yes, always. Someone is saying mostly. And in the chat box, if you can also mention how do you go about it or some insights into that, that will be good for Sonal to also pick up in her talk. We have just 7 responses. Can we get more?
Yeah, so participants, I have posted the link in the WhatsApp group also. If you're facing any difficulty, please do respond it quickly.
I think this gives us a fair sense that most of the people, they try and study some way that what their audience is do and what they think, feel, etc. But that's not the case always, but mostly they try and do that. And that's a very important step, and we will discuss that why. Can I just go to the next question then?
Yeah. So there are two comments from two of the participants. They've shared how they have done it using a formative research.
Nice.
Yeah.
And Sonal will talk about some of those methods in her slides. Sorry, I just need to go back and go to the next question. Is next question visible to everyone now?
Not yet. Yeah, it's loading.
So this is about, like, before you start implementing your communication outputs, do you really pre-test it with the audiences that you've designed it for? So say, for example, if you've designed that communication for pregnant women, do you go back and test it before rolling it out or implementing it? I think, again, similar kind of trend, Sonal. I mean, people try and test it whenever there is an opportunity, but at the same time, there are people who will not, who don't test it. And again, we can delve into the reasons why it is important to pre-test once. Just last question, and then we'll move to our talking point. I'll just share the link to this question. This is a different link. I'm pasting it in the chat box again. The recent one, the latest one, and I'll share my screen so that you can see the question. So this is about evaluation. So once you have implemented the communication campaign or the output in the field, do you go back and again see what kind of impact it has created? I think quite an interesting trend, because most of you are saying that you go and test, evaluate the impact. But generally what we have seen in our experience that communication outputs once implemented are not tested. And so this is really interesting and good trend actually. And very important if you are looking at the principles of BCC and designing the social behavior change communication. So great. So we will touch upon some of these issues. I'll stop sharing now. This gives us a good sense of what all we need to cover. Can I, Jyotsna, can we go back to the slides now, please? Yeah, we can move forward. So again, one question, if some of you can take it up and answer. So as I said, like we will touch upon all these aspects of or different avatars of communication. And when we look at social and behavior change communication or implementing communication outputs in the field in the areas of health, sanitation, or similar areas, most of the time we come across the word information, education, and communication, IEC. Can someone just talk about what is the difference between IEC, BCC, and social and behavior change communication? Any one of you, if you can just mute and
just from my side, information, education, communication means just a material which motivate to person for sanitation. Behavior change communication is such type of communication it's a types of tools, and when you go in society, it's called social behavior change communication. As per my idea, social behavior in mass communication. Behavior communication may be personal or mass. Information, education, communication may be the figure chart that effect such type of uneducated person who have no education. Thank you.
thanks, Devendraji. Anyone else? Frank, your hand is up. You want to go next?
Okay, thank you for giving me the floor. I would say that, for example, there is similarities between IEC, BCC, and SBCC, but for me, the main differences among them is when we talk about information, education, communication, is broadly something just we give the information, education, and we give the communication without a targeted group. Talking about behavior change communication, it is communication aiming to introduce some changes in the habits of people. But for example, talking about social behavior change communication, that is communicating toward people in a very wide group. For example, it becomes a way of living. It becomes a way of behavior in the society, in a given society, for example, in a country, or for example, in a region, or for example, in a specific area. That is my understanding.
Cool. Just last response. Adao, do you want to just go next?
Yes. This is Adu Jani from Côte d'Ivoire, Ivory Coast. I think the main difference that I see between IEC, BCC, and SBCC is the way of communicating with the community. And the last one, I think it is a two-way interaction between the communicator and the target. So it is not like unilateral action, but you have to use the tools that the communities are familiar with, so to communicate and to take also into account their knowledge. This is what I see. Yes, thank you.
No, I think all of you have made a very important point where you mentioned that, I mean, when you talked about IEC, especially information, education, communication, the word that you mentioned was giving information, right? And the last person very clearly also mentioned that it is one-way communication. So I think that's the key differentiator when it comes to IEC, and if you look at the other two forms of communication. So IEC, when you talk about different development communication approaches, it was one of the first ones to be developed, and especially in the context of health programs, when government built, say, for example, clinics, or they came up with new vaccines, etc. They wanted people to actually use those things or come and use their services. But when some of those things did not really work, or say, for example, when vaccine uptake did not really happen, they thought of doing some kind of communication. And in that, IEC was one of them. So where, say, for example, there is a doctor who is telling a person to actually take a vaccine on a regular basis, right? So that was, doctor telling a patient to take medicine. So it was very top-down approach of communication. And as you said, it is one way. It is one-way communication, and it was born from the belief that one party is an expert and other will listen and comply to the prescriptive advice which is being given. But IEC, when it comes to changing behaviors, I mean, it might work to publicize a scheme, or telling someone what kind of benefits something might have. It might work, but it doesn't really work when it comes to changing behaviors. And that's primarily because people are experts on their lives and what they want and what their needs are. So they understand that better. So once programs realized that giving people information and educating them wasn't really working well, they tried behavior change communication, and behavior change communication looked at behaviors more closely and realized that there was much more than just giving knowledge or educating people. So it was an opportunity to also actually, also people to give opportunity, ability, and motivation to perform a particular behavior. It had to also fit into the values and beliefs that people had. So while behavior change communication looked at many other factors, just than knowledge or information or awareness, influencing behavior was something that was still missing. So, and this particular approach, which is behavior change communication, again was putting the entire onus or of changing behaviors or performing a particular behavior on that individual. So again, and it was not really taking the context into the account. Say, for example, when you talk about uptake of vaccines, there are a lot of other factors that actually influence a person's behavior, whether they will take that vaccine or not. And say, for example, in their community, if there are a lot of people who are vaccine hesitant, they might get influence from them and make that decision that they will not take that vaccine. So behavior change communication was actually missing that particular point of taking context into account. So that's where the SBCC came in. And SBCC takes a more holistic approach to behavior change. It looks at both individual and the context in which they are performing that particular behavior. So they also look at the influencers and the gatekeepers in this society or the community where that particular individual is. It takes social and cultural factors that promote or inhibit recommended behavior. It also takes into account the fact that it may be very difficult to perform the behavior if the services and infrastructure do not really exist or product itself is not in place. And for example, in case of sanitation itself, if a person is not able, doesn't have the money to construct a toilet, they will not be able to do, despite having all the intent that they want to construct and use a toilet. So that's just a very simple example of context when we talk about social and behavior change communication. Can we go to the next slide, and we can, I think, move on, because I've already spoken about Jyotsna. Yes, so we have already spoken about it, that it talks about context, and that's how social and behavior change communication is very different from IEC and BCC. And of course, this is two-way, not just one way. Can we go to the next one? Yes. this particular slide actually talks about socio-ecological model, which actually examines different layers of influence to provide insights into the causes of problems. So again, and this is very important from the social and behavior change communication point of view, because in SBCC, we are talking about the influence that people have from their community, from the norms that are existing around them, the cultures, the networks around them. So culture and networks, how they influence people's behavior. People cannot always control the issues that determine their behavior. The decisions about health and well-being, again, compete with other priorities. So that it takes into all other aspects which is there in the community. And it also helps people look at ways in which personal and environmental factors are interrelated, and they and at the end of the day, how they influence each other and the behavior of that particular person. In order to sustainably change behavior, the interaction may have to target, not just one particular kind of individual. So it could be, your end beneficiary, say for example, someone in the community. So it could be a man, woman, or transgender. It could be someone like a mason who is a practitioner. It could be organizations who are working in that particular field, and then systems. And systems might also include, when we talk about systems in the context of social and behavior change communication, we mostly talk about government systems, and those could be at the different levels, national, state, or even at the level of panchayat. But at the same time, there are certain entities like media who also need to go through systemic changes. So we also include them based on the, based on the kind of intervention that we are doing. So this was broadly about IEC, BCC, and the difference between each other. I will now hand over to Sonal to talk about how one actually goes about defining a problem and then actually use some of the insights to actually design a social and behavior change communication intervention. So over to you, Sonal.
Thank you, Tej, for setting a perfect stage for me to talk about research and its specifics. Can we have the next slide, please?
The next one.
Yeah.
This we have already talked about.
Yes, Tej has already spoken about this. The next slide, please. Okay, this was the poll that Tej has just implemented, and the results have given us a good idea and given me a fair sense of where in the scheme of things are we giving importance to research. And what I noticed particularly was that we are definitely, a lot of the players in the room the practitioners are giving importance to formative research. We are studying audiences before we begin our intervention design. But where we are falling short is on the pretest and on the monitoring and evaluation. Pretest still better than monitoring and evaluation, but there were a number of cases in the poll that I noticed who were saying not always and no. And yes, mostly. So I would consider that in some cases they opt for it, in certain cases they don't. So it gives me a very good idea and a perfect segue into my next into this slide, which talks about the various kinds of research that there are in the whole SBCC framework. Now, audience research is exactly what it sounds like. You are researching your target audience to understand their existing behaviors, the determinants of their behaviors, and their detailed profile and media habits of your audiences. And all of these things feed into your communication strategy. Tej has already mentioned that before we begin the process of behavior change, we first need to understand why our audiences are doing what they are already doing, and why are they not doing what they are meant to do. So basically, research will help you define where people are now, where is it that they need to go, and what is it that we need to address for them to move to that point. So that is, in a way, we are saying which barriers do we need to address for people to make a shift. We can only get all of these answers once we have reached out to our audiences and understood them a bit more. The types of research, somebody in the room mentioned that they're doing formative research, which is a very, very good way to understand what the triggers and barriers are, what is the context of the audiences, what do they do, what are their attitudes and behaviors currently. And this can be either qualitative or quantitative. There can be different methodologies to do it. A pretest is mostly, in most circumstances, done quantitatively, but there are certain, qualitatively, but there are certain established tools that can give you quantitative results as well. And later in the presentation, I'm going to talk about monitoring and evaluation in detail. Like I said, the type of research can range from an ethnography, or an immersive exercise, which is qualitative in nature. These kinds of studies help programmers understand the reasons for some deep-rooted attitudes or behaviors. It also could be a quantitative study to get an understanding of the knowledge and behaviors amongst audiences, or it could be a mixed research, which is both quantitative and qualitative to support each other and triangulate results. Now, but all of this entirely depends on what your purpose is, what your program objectives is, and the program objectives then guide your research objectives. But what is completely non-negotiable is the need for audience research. So I would urge everybody in the room to consider research, even if it is a small, if there are budget constraints, if there are time constraints, if there are any kinds of constraints, or do consider either doing a secondary kind of research wherein you read up a lot of material, you talk to experts, either that kind of research is secondary, an extensive secondary research, or an immersive research where you yourself go into field and get the pulse of the people, feel what is it that they're doing and why is it that they're doing, so that you corroborate what you have read in the secondary research, or you do an extensive, exercise if you have the resources for it and the time. Now, research is needed not just at the start of the intervention to inform your program, but it is a continuous process. So all of these, if we put research on a continuum, all of these fall at different places. So formative research right at the outset, when you are trying to understand the audiences and trying to see how you're going to design your communication. Then comes pretest, when you have already designed your communication outputs, or you have thought of an idea, then you go back to your audiences and you test it with them to see how is it doing amongst your audiences. Is it resonating with your audience? What is not resonating? What kind of feedback are they giving you? And before you scale up your intervention, before you formalize your intervention, what are the changes that you need to make? And then finally, you monitor the progress of your, once it is implemented, you continuously monitor to see if it is in the right direction. And finally, impact evaluation, where you see what is the measurable change in various outcomes that you have been able to bring about because of your intervention. So these are the various steps of research. And like I said, doing it is up to you, but we would urge, and it is always beneficial to have some kind of some kind of research that feeds into each of these steps. Next slide, please. Okay, so this is the sanitation value chain, which all of us are very familiar with. When we started working on our sanitation portfolio, it was important for us to first understand what the barriers and triggers may be in the safe sanitation practices among citizens, especially considering that no one cares or knows about what happens to shit after they flush it. So before we began our work, this is we are drawing from our experience in the area of sanitation. We did a very extensive formative research which showed us the primary gaps to address within the broader sanitation value chain. Now, so within containment, our focus was on making households aware of the right kind of containment structure and containing the fecal sludge properly. And later in the slide, I'm going to explain to you why all of these emerged as key gaps. The second, within emptying, it was that we understood from our research that households do not desludge their tanks until they overflow. Factors that are at play in the background are that maybe mostly that people opt for convenience. They will delay desludging, they will choose manual cleaning over mechanical desludging, but at the same time, they're very sensitive to social disapproval. So we wanted our audiences to empty the right way, at the right time, and through the right people. In terms of transport and disposal, we wanted our audiences to ensure that the fecal sludge is transported efficiently and safely till the treatment plant, as we could see that the communities are not threatened by open discharge that contaminates water and the environment. These sludges had to be held accountable to taking the sludge to the right place. We understood that any gaps or lapses in this standard operating procedure along the sanitation value chain will cause a chain reaction, and it will have deep consequences to health and environment. Therefore, addressing each of these gaps was very critical for us before we began. Next slide, please. And all of these findings, the ones that I have just spoken about, were fed in by the extensive formative research that we did across 3 cities, Narsapur, Tiruchirappalli, and in Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, and Odisha. Now, this was a very extensive research. It involved conducting quantitative surveys across more than almost 1,800 households, and a qualitative exercise, which was about 25 FGDs, focus group discussions, and 15 immersions and ethnographies, which by any standard is a very, very robust exercise. And all of these fed into the previous slide. Our target group was the key decision maker for this research. Our target group was the key decision maker or influencer of fecal sludge management practices in the household. We ensured that we spoke to both men and women, because although we knew that men are the key decision makers about whether or not to build a septic tank, when to get your septic tank desludged, it is the woman who reminds them, who discuss about it, and maybe bring it to their notice that see, it is it's stinking and the neighbors are complaining about it, so we need to do something about it. So it was critical for us to talk to both men and women. So the point that I'm trying to make here is that we need to define our target audiences very carefully, and that is guided by what our communication objective is, because that is what guides our research objective, and that is what guides our target group definition. The findings showed us that 90% of the respondents were aware that fecal sludge flowing into open drains can cause diseases, but only 53% were concerned about it, because the rest did not even realize that it was this fecal sludge that is going through open drains is now flowing into rivers, and it is actually coming back to them to cause water contamination and then give them diseases. So this lack of awareness was a key gap which we realized through our research. So we wanted to make the threat of diseases, of water contamination, very imminent to the populations. Then more than 3/4 of the sample believed that tanks should be as large as possible, as it helps in problem avoidance for a longer time. Like I said, people opt for convenience. So they will build large septic tanks, which they will not desludge, but because it is convenient, it works for them. But people believe in reactive desludging. Unless there is a problem, they will not react. Again, this was a very clear finding that most septic tank owners believe that constructing and cleaning septic tanks is not their responsibility. The attitude is to avoid the problem and pass the buck. In general, the findings were very instrumental in helping us draw patterns and mine insights about the different segments of audiences that you will see emerge in the next slide. Next slide, please. Based on the findings of our formative research, we segmented our audiences, our populations, into 3 broad segments. One was those who were connected to open drains, which was about 11% of the population of the sample. Then was the group which was concerned. It was concerned about it was concerned about the problem. They realized that it causes diseases. They were concerned about fecal sludge flowing in open drains and reaching rivers, but they were not doing anything about it because of various reasons. The reasons could be incomplete knowledge. It could be that their attitude did not has not translated yet to behavior change. So this group we named as the proactive desludgers, and this were the low-hanging fruits for us. That is, this was the group we thought was the most amenable to change. The third group, which was a very sizable group, was that of the reactive desludgers, which was a group which was not concerned. They had incomplete knowledge, very low self and collective efficacy. So basically, these were the hard nuts to crack. We were focusing our communication focus was mostly to get the proactive desludgers into our fold, because they were the most amenable to change, like I said. Across all of these three groups, we found that the predominant attitude was to avoid the problem as long as possible and by any means as possible, by building enormous tanks and that don't have to be cleaned in a lifetime, or by desludging as an emergency measure once the tank overflows. This was combined with the attitude that it's somebody else's responsibility completely, and a sense that an individual household doesn't create the problem, it is the responsible and shouldn't be responsible for the solution. So our challenge was clear. The first challenge was that we wanted to make fecal sludge a problem you cannot ignore. And how we did this was to make it, to raise the risk perception. Second, how do we overcome the challenge of caring about the common good? In a sense that if you do not bother and you do not clean your septic tank, the wastewater is going to leach and it is going to contaminate the groundwater also. And finally, it is going to come back and destroy your lives. And finally, to make the invisible visible, meaning this is a problem that's invisible to everyone, but we have to come up with the idea to make it visible to everyone. And that is where our communication objectives flowed in. All of these findings, all of these assessments, we came together to formulate our communication objectives. On the next slide, please. For our communication, very clearly, the communication objectives were to increase awareness about indiscriminate dumping of fecal sludge because it contaminates water. And this was a communication objective because it was helping us directly raise risk perception and creating that community good. The second was awareness about the need for correctly built septic tanks. Take responsibility, build a correct septic tank. Big is not always better. That is what we wanted to communicate. Third, knowledge about what correct construction of septic tank means. So this is something that we wanted to tell everyone. What is a correct septic tank? It is 3 chambers, 2 chambers and a soak pit, sorry. And fourth, the motivation to desludge tanks once every 3 years. So that was our communication objectives, and our portfolio of communication interventions focused on each of these 4 communication objectives across the FSM value chain that I showed you earlier. With this, I am going to talk about, for the first time, we were talking about conversations on fecal sludge management that were to be mainstream. So it was important for us to make people aware, increase their knowledge, change their mindsets, and motivate them to act. Basically, we were referring to the idea construct, where we have to get their attention, raise their interest, make them desire a change, and then motivate them to act. And than just merely expecting them to break their incorrect septic tank and start desludging very regularly, which wouldn't happen anyways. So we had to take a very stepwise and informed approach in our communication. And all our communication outputs followed these communication objectives, which I am going to hand over to Tej to talk about Malasur. The genesis of the idea was from the communication objectives. Over to you, Tej.
Thanks, Sonal. But before I get into the idea and how we implemented it, there is a question for you. I've tried answering it, but it will be good if you can also take it up.
Sorry, where is it?
So I'm just reading it out for you. So the
Sure.
question says, is CAP survey before the launch of the program provide you the essential tool or information for formulating SPCC strategy for any public health program?
Yes, so a CAP survey could be a baseline inline survey which I'm going to talk to you about very shortly. We'll park this question for now, and maybe Tej can take up the rest of the slides. I'm also cognizant of the time. So I'm going to talk about this. I'll come back to this question. We'll park it for now. Thank you very much for your question.
So, Jyotsna, can we go to the next one? I know Sonal has already talked about the predominant problem that we were facing, and that was the problem of avoidance. Like, people really wanted to avoid the problem as long as possible, while they were disgusted by fecal sludge, but at the same time, they would like to defer or delay the cleaning of their septic tanks. At the same time, they would also build incorrect septic tanks, and they believed that it was someone else's responsibility. Unless there was a problem, they would not get it cleaned. So, I mean, the communication challenge for us was to how do we get the people to care about it? And we did it by actually dramatizing the whole issue. And by dramatizing, I actually mean by demonizing fecal sludge. So, I mean, the slide that you see on your screen right now, it was the visual identity that we gave to the entire issue of fecal sludge, and something that people could not really ignore. So, and we called it Malasur, and Malasur became a visual representation of fecal sludge. And it is actually the word Malasur is made of two words. Mal is the Hindi word for fecal waste or fecal sludge, and Asur is demon. So, so this was the idea, and the inspiration for this came from Indian mythology, which is full of stories about good overcoming evil, and we have all grown up with these stories. Hence, we knew people would relate to it. The idea will resonate with them. We showed them Malasur is in the overflowing septic tank, swimming in the open drains, and contaminating all our water bodies all the time. And Malasur is therefore an evil and threat to our health and well-being. But because we did not know it, or we cannot see it, we think that this is something that does not really exist. So this was an invisible issue. We can go to the next slide, Jyotsna, it's okay. So our creative strategy was to build up this evil character till our audiences noticed it and intend to capture it. Effectively, it was about making people the heroes who can slay the fecal sludge demon themselves. And as Sonal already pointed out, the key insight that came out of the immersion process or the formative research that we conducted was the out of sight is out of mind. So invisibility was the issue that we are trying to solve through this communication idea. Again, how do we then further take it forward? Again, we tried aligning this communication idea to our communication objectives. The four objectives that Sonal mentioned just now about raising risk perception, people constructing correct septic tank, etc. So we needed to make the threat actually up close and more personal and relevant for our audiences. And water was one such point, or water was one of the entry points, and its source and quality were emerging as the foremost national priority at that point of time for the government. So we thought linking Malasur to the water, and in making the invisible visible, water actually became our powerful ally. So we gave people a reason to believe that Malasur is deadly if ignored. And Sonal will later actually talk about how it actually works. In all the communication outputs that we made, Malasur was central, and so was the message: save your water from Malasur, that you see in the droplet of water on top. So I mean that was the central message that you see on the slide here. Also, we wanted to instill a sense of disgust at the same time. So the water bucket that you could see on the slide, I mean, that was for the same purpose. So the water bucket could be contaminated again by Malasur. At the same time, you will use actually the bucket for bathing, or say, for example, drinking water or cooking. So I mean, we wanted to create that kind of risk perception among people. So, and Malasur was that evil actually that was creating that kind of risk for everyone. And so this 3-message campaign was developed with the objective of keeping the communication crisp, with the clear call to action, meaning what do you want? With clear call to action that we need to get rid of Malasur or this demon from our lives. So the first message that you see on the slide was about building right containment structure. About right containment structure. So which is basically 2 chambers with a soak pit, and which was prescriptive, and that's mainly because people had also constructed oversized tanks or toilets which were directly connected to open drains. But we were also aware that many of them will not be willing to break those toilets or septic tanks that they had for decades. While some may, but the message is still relevant for those who are actually planning to construct new homes or new toilets. The second message was about timely desludging, and very clear in terms of saying that you have to desludge in 3 years and before the septic tank actually flows. So this is something that households do not really have a control. But we realize that giving people an instructional cue that they need to clean it up in 3 years is helpful from a supply point of view as well, because at that point of time, FSCPN plants in some areas were not operating at full capacity because sludge was not reaching FSCP. And some local administrations had also enrolled licensed operators to undertake the process of desludging and transporting the fecal sludge safely to the disposal site. So the second message focused on regular desludging and, if possible, once in 3 years through licensed desludging operators. And the third point talks about that the responsibility of desludging doesn't really stop with the fact that you are desludging, but also, creating a sense of accountability among those who are desludging your septic tanks and ensuring that they are not dumping it anywhere or dumping it indiscriminately into water bodies or agricultural land. So holding them accountable. So the third was about keeping an eye on where the poo was actually going or the fecal sludge was actually going. So in order to hold people accountable. Can we go to the next one? When we designed Malasur, when the idea was created, we ensured that it is extendable. So it is not just limited to one kind of platform, and it can be used across audiovisual tools. It could be used on hoardings. It could be used on transit mediums and all those platforms. So the idea was, and a good idea actually can be extended in various forms. It is universal and can be used for creating a 360-degree kind of campaign across outdoor, print, or digital forms. So, and this is very important because it helps us create multiple touch points so that more and more people can see the campaign. And those who see it once also have opportunity to see it multiple times, and it actually helps them register the message. So that this was one of the implementation strategies, and that's where you see like different forms of outputs were created for Malasur when we implemented it nationally. Can we go to the next slide, please? So in terms of learnings, when we were developing the Malasur campaign, we had 3 distinct strategic considerations that each output had to have a single message, and that's very clear from the slide that we showed you with those 3 posters, that there was one message, and we were and that's very important because when you look at the comprehension and retention of message, if we try and a lot of time we try and give them a lot of messages to our audiences, and it doesn't really work. So one message, single-minded messaging or unifocused messaging is very important. Then also we took into consideration the city context. So different cities were at different levels in terms of their infrastructure when the program was, this campaign was being implemented. So we had to design our communication accordingly. So for example, if an FSCP was 2 years away from being functional, you can design your communication and call to action accordingly. And similarly, your budgets, etc., will vary. And then third was about media plans across cities that need to be tailored according to according to the kind of platforms that were available to the government at that point of time. In states where there were more than one touch point was available, we used those touch points, or where there was one touch point, we used one touch point. So that's how it was designed and customized. And again, all this has effect on the kind of budgets that you have allocated for the campaign. Can we go to the next one? Jyotsna, can we move to the next slide, please?
Just give a second. Yeah.
So it's now there. So Malasim was one method of creating awareness about fecal sludge management. But at the same time, this issue existed, and of course, not everyone would be able to see this through those traditional mediums. So, and there was an audience on the, which was glued to OTT platforms like, and they were looking at content on their mobile devices. So for them, we created something called Life Navrangi, which translates into Colorful Life. And this was a 7-episode drama web series on fecal sludge management. This is available on YouTube. You can look at that. And this was designed to be a follow-up kind of series for a successful 26-episode television drama called Navrangi Re, which was broadcast on a Viacom 18 TV channel. And the story of Life Navrangi actually highlights various facets of FSM, such as regular desludging, indiscriminate dumping of untreated fecal sludge, and all these kind of issues. So can we just quickly play the trailer, and then we can move to the next slide.
मंदिर ज्यादा लग रहा है।
बस भगवान प्रकट होना बाकी।
बे किराएदार लाना बंद करो बे, सेफ्टी कोई चीज होती है कि नहीं? आप बुरा मत मानना, डॉक्टर को दिखा दो, आपको भागने की बीमारी है।
हम दोनों एक साथ एक कमरे में?
नहीं, मैं किसी के साथ ना ऐसा अकेले कमरा शेयर नहीं कर सकता।
राज बिल्कुल नहीं खुलना चाहिए कि दोनों शादीशुदा नहीं है और हमें घर खाली करवाना पड़ेगा।
एलियन छाप रिपोर्टर, आज से TTMM, तुम तुम्हारा मैं मेरा।
देखिए लाइफ नवरंगी YouTube के नवरंगी चैनल पर।
तुरंत चैनल सब्सक्राइब करके बेल वाला बटन दबा दो।
Yeah, so this particular series, had all the messages on fecal sludge management. Those messages were laced in an entertaining manner. They were delivered in an entertaining and fun manner, so that people actually watch the series and at the same time also get the information that they need to have on fecal sludge management. So that's all. These are some of the numbers, but we can go into the monitoring and evaluation because that's more important. Yeah.
Tej, if you can speed it up a little, we can take few questions also.
Yeah, I'll just look at the questions.
If you're done, we can ask some questions. If not, you might wind up.
No, we still have a few slides to go, and I'm cognizant of the time. Jyotsna, what do you recommend? Should we wind up? Should I quickly give
quickly
some?
We can take. Quickly we can take this, and we can.
Sure. Maybe one case study.
So this is just quickly to tell you about monitoring and evaluation, and I'm going to take some of the questions that have been posted. So monitoring and evaluation is fundamental because this is what is going to tell you whether your intervention is actually going in the right direction and whether or not it has been able to create an impact. Now, how is monitoring different from evaluation? Monitoring is done while your activities are being implemented. It is during the implementation. You can do it in terms of a quick feedback form or online assessment and stuff like that. But evaluation is something that needs to be designed through a well thought out process. Somebody asked a question about KAP. Now, KAP can be a part of the evaluation. or it can be a part of formative. Now, for formative, if you're doing a baseline evaluation, if you're doing an evaluation, you will normally do a baseline endline, so that you're able to measure the change that you have been able to bring about from baseline on your outcome indicators. So KAP can be part of your evaluation design at the baseline stage, and KAP again at the endline stage, and this will give you, the difference will give you whether or not your indicators have shifted. Now, it is always advisable in monitoring and evaluation to triangulate your findings through different verifiable sources. What kinds of outcome indicators you might have depends on what kind of research you're doing. So it could be, if it is knowledge attitude practices, what is the knowledge of people about, what do they think about a big septic tank? Is big septic tank okay? How big should be a septic tank? What is their knowledge about the components of a septic tank? All of these are the various kinds of questions that you might want to include in your survey. The next slide, please. In terms of impact, Malasur was very impactful. It was a clutter-breaking idea and attracted attention from audiences despite the negative character. The connection between untreated human waste and water contamination served as the key trigger. And you'll see these high numbers. A lot of people were very positively disposed to calling the helpline if they noticed indiscriminate dumping. Next slide, please. Our quantitative survey for Malasur, which was done in Warangal, was also supported by a qualitative survey. And all of these then together, it was very clear were effective in delivering the key message of regular desludging and a clear call to action of desludging every 3 years. Besides Malasur, the Life Navrangi, which was the sequel to Navrangi Re, which was a 26-episode drama which was played on TV, carried forward the legacy of the Navrangi tagline. So like they said, have extendable ideas, create properties that have a life beyond just the intervention that you're designing. So that is very critical to us. So we carried forward the Navrangi franchise from Navrangi Re, which was a TV drama, to Navrangi Re, which was a 7-episode YouTube drama. And we did a very extensive evaluation research to test the efficacy of our intervention, Navrangi Re. Can we go to the next slide? Next slide, please, Joseph.
Avinash, are you facing any issue? He's sharing the slide actually.
Okay. So, like I said, Navrangi Re was a 7-episode drama. Go back, please. And there were 7 episodes, and each of the episodes had one message arc. So it was very clear that every episode had a focus on one message, and we were very clearly able to map what episodes were giving what message, and what was the viewership like, what was the message uptake like, whether or not people were able to pick up the key inflection points of the message, so that when we saw whether or not we have made an impact on an outcome indicator, we could correlate what is it that was creating that impact. Next slide, please. This is the kind of assessment we did for each of our outcomes. No, go back, please. Yeah, this is the kind of traffic light that was generated for each of our collection outcomes. Let me tell you that Navrangi Re was the evaluation that we designed for Navrangi Re was a randomized control trial, which is the gold standard in any kind of attribution research. This is considered to be the gold standard in any research, and you are able to attribute whatever change has occurred. You can attribute it specifically to your intervention. But this kind of evaluation demands a lot of planning. It demands very rigorous approach to evaluation designing. So even at the outset of your intervention, you need to think, what is it that you want to do with your evaluation design? Do you want to do a baseline endline, or only at the end you want to go to a control sample and a treatment sample? How is it that you want to evaluate your campaign? Next slide, please. sorry, can you go back? I just want to draw your attention to something. So in this chart, you will see that we were able to make positive change. We were able to significantly change many of the outcome indicators, except we were not able to increase knowledge of correct frequency of desludging by that much. Although we did manage to reduce the time. Earlier, people would say that it was 8 to 10 years. We managed to reduce it to 4 to 5 years of consideration how we were able to we managed to bring it down to 4 to 5 years, but not exactly once in 3 years. So that was one place where we were not able to make a change, and we were not able to increase the intent. Now, the point that I'm trying to draw here is that evaluation does not always mean that you always showcase your success. It is also an endeavor to learn. What is it that is not changed, and what is it that we can do to make that change occur? So be transparent. If you have not been able to make a change, if you have not been able to shift the needle on certain indicators, be transparent about it, learn through it. And this is the agenda that we follow at BBC Media Action. Next slide, please. Like I said, we were not able to shift 2 indicators, and we corroborated it through our qualitative research and through extensive narrative engagement metrics that we captured in our quantitative study. Narrative engagement is a study of how effectively your audience buys into your content. Are they buying into the message? Are they buying into the storyline? It's a quantitative thing. These are quantitative questions that you include in your tool. Are they buying into your message? Are they comprehending your message? Have they been able to get the key inflection point in your episode? So mapping all of these together, we were able to understand why is it that we were not able to shift certain indicators. Next slide, please. And finally, we were able to see these were our learnings. Since we knew that we have not been able to effectively change the knowledge about and motivation about once in 3 years desludging, we thought that it was important for us to consider calendarizing the calendarizing approach. And this is an approach where you put it on the calendar. It has to be taken both online. We have to promote it both online, and it has to be supported through offline. We proved through our research that YouTube has the power to achieve social impact. We were able to create a proof of impact, proof of concept that the intervention on OT is measurable in limited budget. And we took forward our learnings from Malasur, that we created sustainable properties. All our properties, Malasur was also a part of Life Navrangi and Navrangi Re. Malasur, Flush Ke Baad, Navrangi Re, all of these came together in Life Navrangi. And we created a YouTube channel which has a life beyond just the intervention. So these are properties that we have created which have a life beyond just the intervention. And we engaged micro influencers. Another learning from Malasur which we took forward is have multiple touch points. So we engaged with Plug TV, who I believe are the next speakers, and engaged micro influencers and homegrown social media platforms for the multiplier effect. So these we not only learn, but we also prove that whether or not our intervention has created impact. And this is our entire process of research within the SPCC framework. Can we go back? Can we go to the next slide? And the result of everybody's efforts in the Alliance is the SPCC primer, which gives examples of everything there is in terms of designing your communication outputs, in terms of how research is done, vis-a-vis communication. It can be applicable to any kind of thematic area, not just sanitation. So this is a very useful tool for all practitioners to use. It has creative briefs, it has research briefs, so it will guide you on the entire process of how to design a communication intervention. With that, I open the floor to any kinds of questions that people might want to ask. And sorry for exceeding the time limit. Sincere apologies.
Not an issue, Sonal. We'll just keep the floor open for a few seconds. If there are any questions, otherwise we would move on to Mr. Shubham. In the meantime, if there are questions,
There is one very interesting question that we often get asked is about
Yes, Tej,
those
please
effects.
read it out. Please read it out.
So it says how long of implementation that evaluation should be conducted. For example, 1 year of implementation or then evaluation. How to measure increased knowledge based only on a variable, or there are more variables?
Okay, I'm not very clear on, let me first answer the first part. So at the beginning of your implementation process, you can do a baseline, capture all the knowledge, attitude, practices, triggers, barriers, everything at the beginning of the intervention. So this is even before your intervention has been designed. Then let all of this data feed into your intervention, design your intervention, do your pre-testing, take it to the next level, implement it. In the implementation process, monitor, is your implementation happening properly? If it is a TV program, for instance, you can register to BARC data. BARC is the TV audience data, and it will tell you whether or not you are getting viewership of your television program. So, and for instance, for Life Navrangi, we constantly monitored our YouTube analytics data, which is Google Analytics, and we knew whether or not people are watching our program, what is the viewership level of each of our programs, and if it wasn't, we put in our money behind to promote the program more. All of these steps are inbuilt in your entire monitoring process. Also, if it is an in-field implementation, for instance, you can have a quick survey with your respondents. Ask them, did somebody come and interview you? How did you, or did somebody show you this intervention? How was it? How did you feel? Did you understand the message? So these are very quick bits that you can pick up from at immediate intervals while you are implementing your intervention. And finally, at the end, once your intervention is done, you can do the end line, which can be a treatment control, which can be baseline, end line, treatment control. A lot of comparisons can be done for you to arrive at whether or not you've made a difference. The second part is how to measure increased knowledge. Increased knowledge, increased knowledge, awareness, attitudes, whether or not your attitudes have improved. Initially, I was saying that there is no risk through open defecation, but after my intervention, my risk perception has increased. So that itself is an indicator that you have been able to impact your risk perception. So there can be various levels of indicators to tell whether or not your intervention is successful or not. Also, you don't, okay. Is any study about knowledge versus practice? Knowledge, only unless you have knowledge and awareness, they cannot be practice. So, I mean, unless it is something which is already entrenched in the population, that is practice. But if you are going towards correct practices, then you have to take the IDA model. You have to increase awareness. You have to increase knowledge. You have to increase intent, discussion, motivation, and then it will emerge it will culminate into practice. I hope I've been able to respond to all the queries.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sonal. Thank you so
Most
much,
welcome.
Tej.
Most welcome.
Stay
Thank you
with us. If there are questions,
Yeah.
there are questions coming up in the chat box, please stay with us and then take on the questions. I would now welcome Mr. Shubham Gupta, who is an award-winning storyteller from Plug TV and has extensively worked with our sanitation workers. They has worked with journalists, scientists, and different kinds of waste pickers. Without much taking much time, I would hand over to Mr. Shubham. Please, Shubham, you can take up.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Sonal. Thank you so much, Josna. Thank you so much, Asi. Sonal has talked about a lot of things which we have also worked with Sonal and their team about Malasur and taking their message forward. So in this particular workshop, I have designed in a way where you are not just going to listen to me and see, okay, what is happening, how we can use social media, but I will also like to include in the next 10 minutes that we learn from each other in terms of storytelling, how we can implement in day-to-day life and how we can take our messages. So today we are going to learn how we can use social media and some case studies we will listen, and also we will kind of understand like whatever we are learning in this particular workshop from me and from other people, how we can take that message, implement in our community, and take the community message to the world. So that's the main goal. Krishna, you can see my screen, right?
Yes, it's visible.
Perfect. So let me just introduce. My name is Shubham. I had creator relations at Plug TV. We are a creator economy platform. When I say what is the creator economy platform, meaning we train people to create content, and we have trained scientists, waste pickers, sanitation worker, a lot of people we have trained, and they're telling their stories at the same time, creating awareness, but also earning money through it. So that's us. Then we have Let Me Breathe, which is a sustainability and climate change platform. Again, we use the same model when we train people and tell climate stories. And we have one more property called Social Saili, which also tells stories of women entrepreneurs. It's very interesting what is happening at creator economy. In social media, everyone is becoming creator. If you upload more than three videos, like in a week or in a month, then you are a creator. What does that mean? You are contributing to the whole economy. You are also creating awareness, and you are basically contributing to the work which you are doing. So right now, if you're talking about awareness in a particular subject which we are working towards right now, there are not many influencers. There are not many people who are who are basically driving the agenda which we are working on. So if you all can learn this particular skill, that how you can use social media, then you can lead this thing internationally also and at the local level also. Today we are going to see how we can include, or basically how we can talk about sanitation in a way where it basically include a lot of people. At the same time, we can create awareness. The formula is simple. First, what we need to learn? First, we need to learn how to create content, how we can basically enable other people to tell their stories. Sometimes when we see social media, we get intimidated, okay, how we are going to upload our content, how we are going to disseminate our content. But if we learn basics of it, I think anyone and everyone can do it. Let me give you an example. During 2017, we went to a waste picker community, and we trained them that how they can tell their stories. A lot of people made fun of us. Okay, why you are doing this? Why we are telling stories? They will not able to tell their stories, but something magical happened. They started telling their own story about their own community, about how their lifestyle. They started their own Instagram channels, and people started to interacting with them. And it basically resulted to create an awareness that how we can basically solve each other's problems. So first is enabling first individual us, and second enabling of a community. Whatever we are working with, the community we are working, we need to enable them. Second step is creation. When I say creation means that how we can create different kind of content. There is not just video, there is text, there is infographics, there is a lot of things which we can basically learn together and disseminate. There's a lot of ways in which we can disseminate content right now. There are a lot of platforms. There is not only Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, but there are regional channels also, which are very popular, like Mod, Share Chat. The good morning message we get every day on our inbox are coming from Share Chat. It's a very popular app between our fathers and mothers, which is about 35 years. They got their good morning message from there. And the last thing is dissemination. Dissemination is the most important thing. That okay, you are creating content, you are creating infographics, you are creating a lot of content, but how you are disseminating? Where is your audience? Whom you want to address it? Is it for urban audience? Is it for rural audience? If it is for urban audience, it is for male or female or for both. So we need to see how we are creating the content and then disseminate according to it. So if we combine all three things, we have a storytelling campaign with us. I will make it very simple to you. You can ask me questions also at the real time. There is three types of campaigns. One is short-term campaign. When I say short-term campaign, it can be around like specific days, sanitation day, or a moment is Swachh Bharat Divas, or something is coming. Then we can say, okay, for this particular day or particular week, we want to activate our community, we want to activate our company, we want to activate our all the co-workers we are working with, and we want to tell specific things which we are doing whole year. So if we are doing XYZ, like in the whole year, we have done 10 campaigns for that particular week or particular month. We know a lot of people a lot of people, a lot of media will be taking examples in case studies. So maybe we can highlight them. So that's short term. You're designing around one movement. Second is long-term campaign. Long-term campaigns are basically your 6 months, like more than 3 months is your long-term campaign, where you're not designing only messaging that what you're going to say to public, but also saying that what will be the intervention, how you're creating a big movement. Okay, so from your Swachh Bharat Divas to your like New Year to your different Diwali, Raksha Bandhan, everything combined, how you are basically creating awareness during Diwali, how you're creating awareness during New Year, because you know that's particular days where you can create specific messaging where people will be able to get the particular thing. So suppose during Diwali or during Sanitation Day or during Swachh Bharat Divas Day, different days, people will be able to listen to you. So maybe you can design your movement according to that. So that's your long-term campaign. And your one big movement, what is the one big movement you are aiming for? That, okay, I have done 6 things. Now I want to highlight all of these 6 things and my audience is media. Okay, so what I'm going to do? So these are 3 types of campaigns you need to design, you need to see, you need to work out in your organization, if you're working individual to see. So I will personally recommend you start with your short-term campaign so that you understand that what's happening, how you are drafting your message, how you're drafting your video, and then you plan your long-term campaigns. I'll give you some case studies. This is very interesting campaign done by UNICEF, #Putulu. So they have not only designed a very interesting infographics, but they have also designed a video game. Okay, they have also designed videos, infographics. So their particular audience was children's. Okay, so that's the interesting part. And their on-ground activation was from Hyderabad, New Delhi, Mumbai, Pune. So they have designed in a way where it's an urban right now. Okay, if you just see for social media. So you need to also see where is your audience and how you're communicating your messages. You should go and search #Putulu and you will get a lot of things out of it. Okay, how they have designed it, what was the messaging. So hashtag is also important. Okay, how you are designing your campaign, the hashtag is the most important thing. If I started something and if suppose Jyotsna start a campaign and the hashtag is #100% sanitation, for example, just giving example. If she has started something and I want to also contribute to it, the only way Jyotsna will be able to track me on social media that I am using that campaign and I am also contributing is that hashtag. Because if I can upload anything and there is no hashtag, and if I am also contributing that campaign, if there is no hashtag, how I will track it? So the hashtag is the most important thing in your social media campaign. And hashtag should be very simple, very attractive, not more than 3. Like it should be very short. And so why I'm saying it should not be very long, because people will not be able to type. Just a simple thing. So you need to make it very easy for public to use that hashtag. Again, one more great example of dissemination is #CleanAirEveryday. We did this campaign with Star, where our messaging was very simple, that today is clean air every day. We need to talk about clean air, and everyone from like local citizens, from government stakeholders, from all the stars, they contributed to this particular hashtag clean air every day. And we got 128 million people basically interacting on that particular hashtag on that particular day. So we were designing this campaign with a lot of stakeholders, a lot of people, but at that particular day, a lot of people at one time contributed to, and it started it started trending on Twitter. Our main target was Twitter, and it started trending on Twitter. And that day, people started about very simple things, that how I'm making my air clean in my day, or what are the problems I am suffering and what I'm contributing. So whatever you want to design, you want to think in a way where what's the big movement, and the hashtag is the most important thing for your social media campaign. If I'm going too fast, you can let me know. But I want to show you as many as examples, because then you will be able to understand that how social media can help you to take a simple message to a big campaign. Okay, so the last one was very big campaign. It was with the Star. A lot of people contributed it. So okay, you can say, Shubham, okay, we don't have Star, we don't have so much money. How we are going to create impact on social media? So I will give you another example. Here, what we did, in 72 hours, we ask a lot of our stakeholders, a lot of our students, creators, that they go to their village, just document simple mobile video, that how like the introduction of toilets in their home, especially if they didn't had toilets before in their particular home, what has changed. So it was very raw video. Students, stakeholders, community workers, a lot of people just took their mobile phone, went to different places and asked कि टॉयलेट के आने से क्या हुआ है, क्या बदला है आपकी जिंदगी में, सिंपल थिंग. एंड वी गॉट सच हार्ट वेलमिंग like small case studies, small stories from different parts of India, from यूपी के एक छोटे से जगह से लेकर पंजाब के एक छोटे से जिले से लेकर, या फिर एक छोटे गांव से लेकर, small things, small villages. We got such great case studies about how a single toilet can change people's life, what is happening, what was happening before. So in 72 hours we got 8 premium stories. When I say 8 premium stories, it was like a lot. And we got more than 100 videos from different people, and they again uploaded their content on such Bharat stories. It got featured, it also got awards, and it was very simple story about how. So again, so what we did right in this particular campaign, our messaging was very on point, that what we want from our community workers. We wanted a simple 1-minute story about what has changed. We didn't ask them to record a lot of things. We didn't ask them to basically say a lot of things or do a lot of hard work, because we were just asking them in one day, in just 7, in just 2 to 3 days, to collect as many as case studies possible. And they were not trained to create videos. Some students were and some not, but everyone has the power of this now, which is mobile phone, and 5,000 rupees you get a good camera nowadays, which has great quality to record videos. So use that, use your force to create simple movement like this and collect videos like this. Train your community on how to record videos, because you will not, like, these small stories go viral a lot. So after collect all the videos, curate them. When I say curate them, basically see if it is actually right, if it has everything which you want to see. Do basic editing and then upload if you want to basically control the videos which are going on social media. There are 4.2 billion social media users, and 200 million people call themselves creators now. Again, going back to the messaging which I'm saying, you are a creator now if you're creating more than 3 videos. Why I say 3 videos, it's just a thing which we say at our Plug TV, that if you're creating 3 videos, that means you are able to create stories and you are a creator and you can basically contribute to this whole thing in the social media. So imagine the potential. In small town also, people are basically creating stories now. So you can take their help, you can create awareness with them. So you don't need to rely on big media houses now to tell your stories. You have so many people, there's so much potential if you use it correctly. You need both, you need media also, you need stakeholders also, but I know you are using all of them, but you might not be using these people who are creating content, or maybe you are also not using yourself. You can also create content. So that's the power of social media now. Now, just in this next 15 minutes, I will just tell you what are the formats, how you can do it, how you can create a simple video stories. I will also teach you. If you have not, I don't know how many people know how to create videos, but there are some basic things. We all know we create videos for birthday parties, for everything. But what are the basic things which are very, very important for a social media video? What's the difference between a normal home video versus a social media video? That I will teach you now. Okay. Before that, one of the most important thing is also for our part of the work is infographics, because numbers tells a lot of things. Okay, numbers also educate a lot of people. So you can use numbers for infographics also, but at the same time for your videos also. But they work a lot, because we work with case studies, we work with a lot of people. So I think infographics is also one thing. And there's one tool called Canva, CANVA, which is free to use. There's a premium version also, but there's a free to use also. You can just go there. There's a lot of all this kind of templates are there. You just need to add basic numbers there. So let me show you some videos which will give you the idea for the video, and then we will basically learn.
सेप्टिक टैंक बड़ा हो या छोटा, हर 3 साल में उसको साफ करवाना ही करवाना, नहीं तो फिर से मनासिब बन जाएगा। जब घर के नीचे सेप्टिक टैंक में खूब सारा पानी जम जाता है ना, आंटी जो है ना वो सेम डेंजरस मुनासिब को पकड़ के अपने साथ ले जाती है। काम तो मेरा लक्ष्मी बाई वाला है, मेरा सुपर पकड़ना। आपको क्या लगता है मैं सुपर हीरो हूँ? बैटमैन, सुपरमैन मेरे बच्चे देखते हैं तो क्या मैं भी सुपर हीरो?
this particular video we worked with Life Navrangi team. The idea was very simple, that how we can involve our community heroes and to tell the same story which the television episodes was like is trying to portray, that they are heroes. So we use our community worker, that how she is working, and she is saying that मैं superhero में मलासुर को fight करती हूँ. We are contributing that message. And Lukia Devi from Patna tells us, and this video got a lot of attention on social media in terms of local channels. Yeah, 1 second. When I say local channels, like Moj, Share Chat, people like who are basically seeing this video are from local town. But I want to show you one example of social media influencer now.
ये नानी दादी को लगता है कितना भी खिला दो बहुत जगह है, पर फ्लश के बाद कहाँ जाएगा उसकी बस एक जगह है, नहीं तो देखा फ्लश के बाद किधर चली कहानी, शिट पे रखो निगरानी, तो स्पॉट करो कि फ्लश करने के बाद शिट कहाँ जा रही है और इनडिस्क्रिमिनेट डंपिंग को रिपोर्ट करो 14420 या नियरेस्ट म्युनिसिपैलिटी और इस वीडियो को शेयर करो.
Now this video was very interesting in terms of two things. One, 14420. That's an awareness thing which we want to put it. If we just make a simple video ki 14420 pe complain karo, no one will do this. But this particular video was used in terms of like a social media campaign ki like there's a viral trend going on. So she used this viral trend and tell that particular story, that you can use 14220 to tell your story. 1 second. Sorry. So again, these are the content creators whom you can use to portray your message. There's so many examples like this, which I can share with you after this workshop. But now learn how you can do this. Okay. There is 3 to 4 formats which you can use. One is long form format, which are your documentaries, which are your case studies, which you are using either controlling in terms of documenting on cameras or telling a long form stories, which is more than 5 minutes. So this stays on YouTube, Instagram, they don't work a lot nowadays. Earlier it used to. Now on Instagram, every video works which is less than 3 minutes. So your YouTube, Facebook, or maybe your regional channels, these videos, or maybe your WhatsApp channels, these videos play a lot. So the main audience is YouTube. So then second is information and experience-based stories. Information is the most important thing for us because we want, there's so much of information which is not available to mass public. So that can be less than 3 minutes. If you're making video which is very lengthy for information based, no one will watch it. So you need to make video which is less than 3 minutes. Use multiple faces. Okay, that's the most important thing because people get bored. Nowadays, the Gen Z people, the younger generation, they don't have like time, like they just want to see which is very fast video, less than like 1 minute video. So you also need to change how you are telling your stories if you're using social media. I will request everyone to just pay attention for this 2 minutes, and you can also type. I think Joshan, they can type, right? If you can type.
Yeah, they can.
You can just type what I'm asking you so that we can basically, I just want to interact with you and see at what level you are so that we can take this particular workshop to next level now. There is 3 things which you can do to create an impactful video. Okay, there's very basic things which we learned in different schools and universities. But nowadays, as I was saying, everyone is creating videos. So how you can use your mobile phone to tell stories. So one is if your video is shaky, no one will watch it. If your video is like this, if it's unstable, if it is getting like it's not stable, no one will watch it on social media. If you can give me more example like this, in an ideal video, what should be the things? Like one is the video should not be shaky. What are other things? If you can type. For a good social media video, which you watch on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anywhere, what are some things which is very important? Voice clear. Perfect. Mohammad Rashid ne bola hai, the most important thing is voice. If your message is not clear, if your voice is not clear, no one will be able to understand. Yes. BB Rao sir ne bola hai, colorful, short and realistically. Yes. Colorful is also great. Yeah. Local language. Yes. The language you are comfortable in, That's the most important thing also. I am very good in English, but at the same time, but my local language is Hindi. So when I make video, I speak in Hindi because it comes naturally to me, but I put subtitles. So that's your second hack. So if you're speaking, if you want to address a larger audience, you speak in your local language, but create subtitles. There's so many AI apps nowadays which create surprise. Surprise is a good element. So again, very important part. There's one more important thing which is missing. Then I will audience friendly message. Yeah, it should be very like what you should make a video like how you're talking to your best friend. If you're making like that, then it will become viral. Okay, start with the hook. Perfect. Nice. So culture adaptation, perfect. So I will divide this into two parts. One is technical thing, and second is your language part, your basically content part. So for your technical thing, there is three important things. One is your video should not be your video should be very stable. Second is audio, and third is lighting. If your video has all three things perfectly, then your video is social media friendly. So let me teach you how you can make this possible. One, you can buy tripods, you can buy selfie sticks. Right now, one second. This type of selfie stick, which you can buy from market to make your video stable. But if you don't have anything, if you want to train also your community that how you're going to tell your story. So what you can do, you can hold your hand like this when you're recording a video. So when you record a video with one hand, it naturally will shake. Okay. And if you're taking someone's interview, if you're taking your own bite also, you eventually will start, your hand will start shaking. But if you use like this, your hand becomes your tripod, and automatically the framing becomes also straight. When you record with one hand, you don't know if your framing is like this. Maybe sometimes it's like this, sometimes it's like this, but your framing should be always straight like this. So that's one hack. Use your hand if you don't have anything. Second, audio. Audio, you can definitely and should buy mics, which are very cheap nowadays, from 500 rupees, Indian rupees, to 1000. There's a brand called Boya, which is very available at every store also nowadays. So you can buy that. But if you say, okay, Shom, we can't take like mics everywhere. If I want to take a record a story of my someone from community and how I will do. So one hack is you can use your headphone to record the audio, or you can use someone else's phone also. So record it for one phone, and from second phone record the audio. Because if you're recording with one phone and there is a lot of ambient noise, there's a lot of background noise, no voice will come. So record from two phone, and then on the software you can basically sync it. Third is lighting. Lighting is the most important thing. Right now, I have a light in front of me. That's why my face is lit up like this. But the rule is very simple. Lighting should be always in front of you. If the lighting is behind you, then it will be glitchy. So that's the three important thing for a basic of social media video. You can teach, you can basically practice, you can also educate your community on it, and then done. It's very simple. Now the second part comes, the story part. So a lot of people say start with the hook. So starting 3 seconds is the most important thing. So you should not start with the video like, my name is Shubham Gupta, I am from Plug TV. No one cares. Put Shubham Gupta in caption or in the video, in the text. My video should start, okay, if I want to create a video about today's workshop, so I will start like, I'm training 50 interesting people about how to tell their stories from all over India. Okay, so that's my hook, that I'm doing training. I will not tell them what is the training about in the first, like it should be the first starting 3 seconds should be the context of the video. What is this video about? And then I will introduce myself. Okay, my name is Shubham. I'm a mobile storytelling trainer. I do a lot of training. So this time I do this training with XYZ people. I train them about this topic. So then I will go on. But the starting 3 seconds should be very interesting and very exciting. Then only your video will go viral. When I say go viral, it means in your community. If your target audience is 10 people, if your target audience is 500 people, then it's viral. Viral doesn't mean millions of people. You should also decide your target audience in the starting. Okay, so that's the most very simple things. Joshnal, you can let me know the timing also, and then we can take some question.
Yeah, so if you are done, we can take some questions.
Yeah, 1 second. For us, community lead stories are our favorite because they tell a lot of story. We did a story on COVID during the first wave about people like, a lot of sanitation workers were getting a lot of hate because of a lot of misinformation in the first wave of COVID when it happened. A lot of ASHA workers were getting a lot of hate because of a lot of misinformation. So at that time, we did a series called COVID Hero, where we basically highlighted them, told their stories, and at that time no media, like only the media houses were allowed to go outside and take videos. So basically what we did, we have trained so many sanitation workers, so they use their mobile phone to tell their stories, that how they're working on the ground and what's happening, why they are doing sanitation, what is happening, what is this thing, and what are the information they are going to provide. So this happened, and this video went viral at that time. A lot of media houses picked because it was coming from the ground. So you can use community at crisis moment also, and mobile videos are the most important thing, most useful thing at that particular period when there is nothing else. There are apps. Some are primary apps like Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, that are primary apps which you can use. And there's regional apps, ShareChat, Moj, Public, Daily Hunt, Josh. When I say regional apps, they basically get attention in second, third city. So if you're from Rajasthan, they will have great audience from Jaipur and different part of the city, maybe like small cities also. But on Twitter, Facebook, you have global audience also. Okay. Perfect. I think we have covered a lot. I have already teach how to tell the story, but if you have any specific question, you can just let me know right now.
Thank you, Shubham. That was interesting. That was engaging. But then, I mean, I don't see any questions as specific as such, but then somebody asks about some video editing applications. Could you speak about it?
Yes. So Mohammed, when you go to your app store, you can just type video editing. There is so many apps but I will suggest 3 apps. One is called Vita, VITA. I will also type it. Then we have Quick, QUIK. It's very basic app. My grandmother uses this app nowadays a lot. When I when I went to her and I taught her. So my point is these apps are so simple that anyone and everyone can use it. So you should try it. And the basic formula I will give you for scalability to use social media is first try with your community, first try with your co-workers. If you have not created any social media campaign, try with 3 people. You do one thing, okay, I will basically create one hashtag and we'll tell stories like fitness challenge, XYZ challenge. Just try with your colleagues, see what is happening, and then you go to mood board. Okay, what is our main messaging? Okay, we want to create a message about sanitation, about XYZ thing, how we are going to communicate that, what kind of messaging we will set, and then go to public. Train your community, ask your community what kind of case studies they can share with you. So then you will have a lot of like a bank of videos which you can use and then launch your social media campaign. But if you're not using social media campaign to create awareness, and nowadays everyone has mobile phone, so you're missing out a lot. So you should use social media. What are the key components for a good storytelling? What is the key component to write content? Very interesting. Key component for a good story is very simple, that it should be very like, if I'm so suppose, let me give you an example. If I want to start a series right now about sanitation, I don't know anything about sanitation. Okay, I will learn, and my audience don't know anything about sanitation. So what I will do, every day I will come, I will sit in this particular area. So my background will be same. I will be same. I will tell my hook will be same. Day 1 of learning sanitation in India. Day 2 of learning sanitation in India. So I am learning with them. Okay. So I am learning something about sanitation and I'm telling them. So it should be very simple. It should be very original. When I say original, this background is very original to me. So whenever you see this background, you will say, okay, Shivam is coming and he will tell about sanitation. See, so that's the second important, like it should be original to you. But when I say original, it doesn't mean that you need to create a lot of graphics and everything. It can be like, the hook can be very simple, like day 1, day 2, day 3. For 30 days, I learn about sanitation and I teach my audience about 30. So that's good storytelling. And how to write good content? Start 5 W's on 1 H. What, where, when, how, basically. Okay. So telling your audience what is happening, when is happening, where it is happening, with whom it is happening, and how it is happening. Very simple. Anything else?
Questions? I don't. Okay.
Now, I guess no more questions, but then Shubham, thank you so much. I'm sure you have actually infused them with a lot of ideas of creating content. And I'm sure our audience will come back to us with their own contents and ask us to vet it out. And we will send it out across to you so that you can evaluate and send it back to us. What are the flaws or what are the places of improvement that could be done? Right? Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you